It says I'm muted, but I'm not. I'm muted, but I'm not. Oh. Oh. Now I can hear you. Now I can hear you. Oh no, you're streaming the sound. You need to turn the sound off your stream so that it's only going to Discord. Streaming the sound, you need to turn the sound off your stream so that it's only going to Discord.
Testing. Oh, there we fucking go. Hey, look, I fixed it. You can't hear me? Oh, crap.
Again.
Alright, I'm gonna get off Discord because it's confusing me. Well, I'll just mute myself. Wait, let me. I had my own audio on the dashboard. That's the problem. I've only streamed like twice, so. All right. Well, apparently people can hear me now. Sick. I don't know. Okay, I'm going. These are just placeholders. I'm gonna get some. They're supposed to be rail cars, but I think I'm just gonna use the cargo containers that I built for the other maps to block this off. I'll decorate in here later. That could probably be bigger. Yeah. All right. Yeah, I was gonna do. Sorry, Cyrus, but I was gonna do the Rainbow Six map next, but I really want to do Payload. I started on it before, but I didn't know how to make an object follow a spline. But I looked it up, and it's actually really fucking easy. So I'm gonna be able to make Payload fairly easily using the mechanics I already did for the other custom game modes. Okay, so this, if I recall correctly, I'm gonna go ahead and grab that cargo container now. That's not. Oh, that's right. Is my project still open? I think it is. There it is. This is just a container for all of my random assets. And I only migrate over stuff as I need it, so that I only have things that I'm actually using in the map. Wait, this isn't actually where those are, though. Hold on. That's where all my other crap is. I made the cargo containers using some other stuff. Let's go to River. How do you guys feel about River? There we go. Might be done with this for now. Can you hear the washing machine in the background? Is River opening? Pretty sure I told it to open River. Okay. I'm not 100% sure what I'm going to do with this ledge. I figured I could probably take like one of these. Do something like... I was just going to do this as a quickie. I'm not going to put a whole super ton of effort into it. It's not very balanced, or it's not very flat on top, is it? That looks like crap. It looks like hot garbage. So you walk off the edge. It's not that bad. Okay, it's pretty bad. Alright, what can I do about that? It's pretty bad. Turns out it's pretty bad. Alright, fall off the edge. I need, what's that height fog volume? I am doing my my bed. Needs cleaned. That's what I got pulled away for. My wife got up. What am I doing? Where is River? River, I requested your entry minutes ago. Okay, carbon containers. Oh wait, not River. I made them for Quarry. Are these the right ones though? Yeah, this is the right one. That's what I wanted. Really inefficient cargo containers. Where am I going? I had to buy like extra hard drives to store all my maps. We are building payload. Content. What? Oh yeah, the default. Whenever you migrate something that you've already applied physical materials for, it'll ask you to override it. It doesn't matter. It'll automatically replace them. Cool. And we now have generic scrap. I wonder if I should do, if you guys are familiar with Route 66, it's got like a train track going over the top to the other side, but it's broken and they're like hanging down. If I end up putting more time into this to make it look pretty, I might take the time to do that. Let's do it like this so that you can't get into it. It might look funny. Let's go up. That's not going to work. Oh yeah, it's not weird at all. Oopsie. Whatever. It's a quickie. It'll be fine. Okay. We need some more of these. Now, I'm mildly concerned there's supposed to be a tunnel, a couple of them actually, tunnels through the mountain here, but my my cliffs don't really support that, so I'm going to have to figure something out for that. I guess now's as good a time to do that as any. Let's take the boxes and stretch them out. We will just do it out of brushes. Everybody loves brushes. Whoops. Oh yeah. It's going to be just beautiful. Believe it. Here's a beautiful cliff face I got from somewhere, and here's a giant box. Pretend this is part of a good looking map. Okay, so how does this work? There's a cliff. You know, we're just gonna do a lot of brushes where it makes sense. We're just gonna have to do brushes because I'm not modeling all this. It takes way too much time. Does something like this, and it goes over like that. Let's take this. Need two corners. How's that? A little hidey spot over here. And now we can punch holes through it. I don't think this is as far as it's supposed to be, but again, it doesn't really matter. So there's going to be a payload right about here. There's going to be some more stacked carbon containers here. That's actually about right for that one. And then there's one. Something like that. I used to play Overwatch a bunch, so I kind of have a bunch of it, at least enough to make it look generally right in my head. Oopsie. Doesn't have to be perfect. Or if you can fit through there. What? Alright. These are my player size checkers. Their person's about that big. you can be like, oh, yep, that's about right. And they're editor only, so I can scatter them around. Okay, this is actually supposed to be a ramp up now that I think about it. Let's do that. See if I can do that easily without fucking everything up. No. There's like an arch up here. Oh yeah, another one of these. No? Oh, yeah. I always forget to do that. Ooh. Oh yeah, this is not gonna look good. Or is it? It's not gonna look good, it's gonna look great. If I can get the payload thingy working in any sort of like fun way at all, I might release it as a module, just in case anybody else wants to add that to their own map. Map says he'll do it. Still waiting for somebody else to do capture the flag. Oh wait, that's not good. Nope, nope. What are you doing, little vertex? Perfect. This needs probably a rock over here. I'm not sure why people want to watch this, but you are, so I will record it. This is me, not knowing what I'm doing, fucking around in Unreal Engine. Have I mentioned I'm really novice at this? Oh, that actually looks pretty good. Sick. Wait, that's a problem. You can also put, like, if you can't block it just right with the props you're trying to use, you can just kind of make it look sort of blocked and then put invisible blocking volumes in. So at least it kind of makes sense why it's blocked. Something like that. Looks pretty good. I might take like a rock texture and paint these BSPs. I could probably make them a little more jagged too if I wanted to. Okay. So this actually is not supposed to be that far over, I don't think. Or maybe it is. I guess these cargo containers are a lot smaller than a fucking train car. It's probably my problem. So I will just add more of them. Where are they? There's one like over here maybe. I'm gonna see how much I can do without looking at references just off the top of my head. I might not do the whole thing either, because we're restricted to team deathmatch times. It's gonna be max 7.5 minutes, and we're not gonna switch sides or anything. It's gonna be one side pushing, one side defending. Oh yeah, I forgot this was gonna go up. So I'm probably just gonna go to maybe the second point. Maybe not even that far, we'll see. Maybe I'll do like the first checkpoint and see how it plays. I can always like slow down the payload too. If I go further, this is something I was gonna try for this, is see if I can change where the spawns are from point to point. Like once the payload gets to a certain point, remove the old spawns and put them somewhere else, and then when people die, they'll spawn somewhere different. That could be really cool if I could get that working. We are sculpting. Gonna raise it just a little bit. That's way too fucking big. This should be just a little bit higher over here. Like that. And then we will flatten raise. Go ahead and make it bigger again. There we go. So this will be the turning point up here where it actually kind of flattens out. And then maybe I will give it some more fall off. Wait, which way's more fall off? Not that way. That's a little odd. Sure. There's probably better tools I could use for this, but it's not very good. There's like a ramp thing in here somewhere that I tried it before. It doesn't actually work very good. Yeah, we're not fucking with the ramp. Undo. Go away, ramp. Oh, it's not going away. Go away, ramp. Okay. What if I just turn down the tool strength and say, give me something resembling a gentle fucking incline over here, video game. How's that look? Really shitty. Awesome. Let's go with it. Yeah, you just push the payload. I'm going to focus on the map for now, because that's what you wanted to see. But, oh yeah, I fucked those up pretty good. I'm not going to dick with the blueprints right away. What's up, Mav? Not you. I'm streaming because Junt asked me to. He said he'd like to see, because he saw my videos for how to get started, you know? I don't really, like, what are you learning from this? Nothing, I'm just fucking around. Okay, I've decided I don't like the landscape being up. Let's just get rid of all that. This. Yeah. 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 A lot of it was really intuitive for me. But yeah, there's a lot I just had to look up too, so that's a good point. Anything that I do that people might not have seen before could be helpful to just be aware that you can do it. Right on. Yeah. I really should have finished at least the second 2 tutorials for how to import stuff and migrate stuff so that people had, you know, there's a lot of free assets out there. Like these cargo containers I built out of free materials and free props. So there's a lot of stuff you can get without having to, you know. I don't know what I'm gonna do here. Okay, so there's an arch. Let's do the arch. And you're supposed to be able to kind of walk up onto it. It's really narrow. I gotta stop trying to scale these boxes. You can scale the boxes, but it looks worse. That's pretty good. You know, I think it's not really an arch, it's just an overhang. It's like a sign, like the Route 66 sign. Where's my player? That's probably taller than it needs to be, but that's fine. Yeah, when are you going to start on your map, Mev? Because I've been thinking about this one for a while. Like I had this project sitting here ready to go. I just never did anything with it. Maybe it arches up a little bit. It extrudes out. Doesn't have to look like complete garbage. This is a remake of oh, extrude, yeah. Let me show you extrude in just a second. But this is going to be a remake of an Overwatch map, kind of like my Tower Garden, only it's going to be Payload. So when you're extruding, first you have to have, let's start from scratch. You need, I'll make one over here. You probably were grabbing these. These are meshes. You can stretch them around, but it also fucks up their UVs, it's called, the way that it stretches the, I could show you that real quick probably, the material. That's a terrible example, but it'll give you an idea. So let's say you decide to say, you want something, but not shaped like that, you want shaped like this. Well, it's going to stretch it out. That looks awful. And yeah, you can fix it, but it takes more work. You have to make extra materials like child materials and stuff. The brushes have their own problems, but they're really useful too. It's kind of like being able to model in, I do not want that material, being able to model within the program, the UE4 program itself. So you grab one of these geometry boxes, or whatever shape you need, and you can do the same thing where you stretch it, but as you can see, it stretches it there. That's why I keep trying to remind myself not to, don't scale it up. You can also just enter the dimensions that you want, like to get started. And this is good because it'll leave the anchor in the middle, or you can switch to geometry editing and grab the faces and stuff, as you were asking about. You can grab edges, you can grab vertices, and actually warp the shape of the thing. And if you click on something that's extrudable, like you can't extrude a point, but you can extrude a face, and then switch to extrude, it'll give you a warning the first time. It has to be in local, not world, because you can't extrude on world. But that's fine, because like you can't extrude. It's complicated. Like if I had it rotated, which I can't do in that mode, I can't extrude up on the world scale. I can only extrude up relative to its center. But that's mostly irrelevant. And so, like right now, there's no need for me to extrude the top. I could simply grab it and make it taller. There's actually going to be a rock up here. But let's say you did something like, I also want to go, what did I fucking do? Make sure to take it off world, or off edit mode before you do that. Okay, so let's say you want to have only part of it come out. You can grab this edge and split it, and now grab just this face, and if you were to move it, it would diagonal the bottom there. Or you can extrude it and get it a new face. Yeah. So that's what I did, like this thing, this whole building over here is a combination of extrusions and splits and whatever. Now you don't want to make a mesh too complicated, or a BSP, because they have some issues. Like there's a good chance that someone running up this is going to get caught on these edges and just not be able to walk, which is really annoying. The more seams you have, the more likely that's going to happen. You can always convert it to a mesh later, but again, the more complicated it is, the less likely it's going to look right when you convert it to a mesh. So I don't recommend making them super overly complicated. This building here is probably about as complicated as you want to make them in general. Like my satellite map was entirely made with pretty much just one brush, and it runs like hot garbage. For some reason, the performance is really shitty too. So this doesn't actually need to be extruded and whatnot. Oopsie. Let's make it a little taller. Yeah, so the drawback to dragging it like this, it's more convenient as opposed to like going in here and typing in how tall and stuff you want it. But the drawback is the anchor is going to be where it started. So you can see it's way down there, which isn't a huge deal. But you might end up with like one where the anchor is over here because you ended up stretching it and moving and stretching it until it's, it's somewhere completely different. Just something to keep in mind. For the basic beginning shape, if you're going to be manipulating a lot, you probably want to start by trying to make it close to the shape you want. Alright, where was I going with this? You're not actually supposed to be able to climb up here, so we're going to put a rock. Boom. Oh yeah. It's just a stupid map. And there's more rocks over here. I actually kind of like this, so we're going to put another one over here. Do you know, is that actually the same one? It doesn't matter. It's fine. I can do it however I want. And that. Put a couple of these. With GPU, I've got an i7, an i5, 9. Hold on, let me check. I don't remember. It's unlocked, and it's like 5 years old or something. 4790K, 4 gigahertz, unlocked, but I didn't overclock it. i7 is an i7, 4790K. Okay, and we need to make a sharp left turn up here. Oh, but GPU. I totally misread that. You did say GPU. I have. I used to be actually on an MSI 970 when I first got VR, and that did not run things very well. So I was able to upgrade to a 1070. No, not 970. A 770. It was originally a 770, which I built this computer with this processor, which works great and lasts forever, and a fucking 770. I should probably switch this around. Another little trick here, you can switch this scale to negative. That was the wrong one. There we go. Yeah, my wife needs a new video card too. We're just hoping that they go down in price. That looks a little better, doesn't it? Because they're ridiculous right now. Let's do another one of these. And, I mean, it's kind of hard to tell. It's a good idea to walk around on like person scale and kind of get a feel for what all you're going to be able to see, because you don't have to put stuff where no one's ever going to be able to see. But people are going to fall off here. But, I mean, if you fall off, you deserve to see janky geometry. It's fine. These are all a tiny bit too high. I like to... This is actually like a bad idea. I like to finish stuff as I do it. You're supposed to just block it out first and get a feel for it and then come back and finish it later. But I really like to see how it's going to look personally, so... You're not supposed to do it like this, but there's no real right and wrong way. Is there? What, my way or the other way? Yeah, it's not super finished though. It's just, I like to get an idea. I just throw a rock on top of this pillar, you know, it's fine. It looks a little better. The materials. Okay, I'm gonna punch a hole through here. Oh yeah, the other thing about brushes is Junt still here? You can take a box and switch it to subtractive, and now it takes away from brushes. What is going on there? I think that's the bottom of this one. I can fix that Z fighting real quick. There we go. Nope, there's another one. This is a subtractive brush, but I don't know why it's Z fighting here. Oh, because it's the bottom of... that's fine. It's the bottom of the subtractive brush. Fighting with the landscape. That's what it was. Okay. Does this actually go around the corner here? This part I don't remember. I haven't actually played Overwatch in a while. I think this does go around the corner up top. Oh. Okay, you're fine. Yeah. He's crazy. What else is funny is they can't hear you either. Have you tried modeling in 3ds Max? I do some modeling in Blender, but I don't like it. I like my last map, Occupied. Actually, it wasn't my last map now. I did pretty much everything except for these like cliff faces that I'm reusing here. I did myself in Blender, and it takes fucking forever. So I don't have 3ds Max. So sorry, what were you saying, Mav? No, nobody can hear you, so they think I'm talking to myself too. I don't see any reason to import BSPs. I mean, if you want a BSP, you can make it in here. Is there, like, what do you guys think? Is there any reason to take an imported BSP? If I was going to make something, I'd just make it a mesh. And then if I want to change it, I could go back into the program and fix it. Why can't I grab this fucking edge? I want this edge. You know what? Fine, I don't want that edge. I want this one over here. There we go. Split. So now I'm taking the subtractive BSP, making a new split just so I can have, because in some ways, like, you don't want to make them too complicated, but you also don't want to use a whole bunch of them overlapping. That causes its own problems. So, yeah. Yeah, you're watching? Like, so on this one, you have to switch to geometry editing, and then you have to be able to you can't split faces or vertices, obviously, but you can split edges, but it's really fucking hard to click the edges. So you just have to get it so that you have an edge selected. There we go. And now you hit split, and it will split that edge across the entire mesh. So, like, for example, if you take something more complicated, and let's say I want to add in this door. Actually, I kind of do. I want this door to be out further than the other one. So if I can select this edge and split it, it'll split it across every edge that I've already made around this whole thing. And now I can take this face and extrude it out some. Boom. And lose my door because it's in here. Did you get that? Oopsie. Cool. All right. Yeah, I do that a lot. Why is this not level? Okay, Solo. Get it? Build a wall. What did I fuck up about this brush that it's not flat anymore? One thing you can do if you've stretched something out a bunch and you want to change it back, like if you ever change this down here, any of the brush settings after you've stretched it, it'll change it back to the defaults, which is probably not good. I'm actually going to delete that. Mav gets to hear me seconds before you guys do. It's privileged. I know why it's wrong. I had it on local scale, and apparently this is twisted. Oh yeah, see? And so it was going up when I pulled it. That was my problem. So a lot of mapping is just figuring out what you're doing wrong. I spend a lot of time trying to figure out what the fuck I'm doing wrong. You know, that should actually be here. So I can save myself time here instead of trying to split that, go right to the corner, and then extrude it out. I decided I'm going this way with it. And then extrude this out as well. This could probably be a little bit bigger. So my thinking is if I start with something like this that has been balanced for Payload already, that maybe it'll be at least somewhat balanced in Pavlov. Okay, so if you'll see this brush is, hey, he likes it. Is Junt still here? Yes, he is. If, oh, it is working. Hold on. There's a weird overlapping thing going on with brushes. Whatever you added most recently, I guess it's because this is still part of that other one. But I can still show it. Let's say I put a brush here for some reason, and I want to extrude this out. Oopsie. Oh my god. Selecting things is so hard. There we go. This face. Okay, so I not extrude, but run this out here. It won't cut through this one because this one was added more recently, and so they're like stacked like card games, I guess. If you do Magic the Gathering, it's on the stack later. You don't like that analogy. So if you want to make it apply to that one, you have to change the order. So like I could either take this newest brush and move it to first. Where is that? Under brush settings. I can change the order to first, and now it cuts through it. Or I could take the other one and move it to last. The downside is you can't do anything but move it to the first or the last. So oftentimes it'll be kind of hard to get, because you don't necessarily want, like what if you want to cut a hole out of something but then also put something else inside of it. You want the order to be just right. It's just something to consider when you're doing things, is the order. Actually, probably want to undo that, send to last. All right. Cool. I don't know what you're talking about. I haven't played in a long time. Let's see, where does this go? So there is... These cliffs that I found, you end up with a lot of these hidey holes. What if I could... Yeah, babe?
Could you turn your head, please?
What was that? Oh. I'm pretty sure I looked there. Okay. So there's going to be a gas station here. The attackers spawn in this building. The payload, which I have but doesn't actually do anything, it's going to be right about here. And it's going to go up and to the left and around the gas station. There's going to be more cliffs over here. This is actually about right. Let me get those cliffs in. And let's make that the other way. -1. Cool. Exactly. And then we'll put a cube. Nope, not a cube. Geometry cube. Geometry box. Box brush. And this will just... I'm just going to stretch it for now because it's easier. This will take the place of the gas station. And there's a ramp up here and a high ground up there. There's a high ground over here that starts to come down. I'm going to start trying to avoid those hidey holes because they're not necessary. And maybe a little more straight. That looks about right. And there's going to be another hole here, which means that has to be a box. Unless I don't end up doing another weight checkpoint. It's pretty small so far, though. Probably going to need at least one more checkpoint. Could probably put the hole up here, actually. Okay, and then there's a big old double door deal right here, which I will just toss a couple of these. I'll probably make something for these if I end up using them. But in Overwatch, when you get to the double doors, let's see, they'd be right about here. With the payload, then it opens. Something like that. And then there's high ground over here. This might be a little too far away. I should have imported, I wasn't thinking, I should have imported the cliffs from Occupy because I did a bunch of work to them. I made them smaller and I lowered their polygon count and shit. I'll have to do that again. Let's actually switch this back to 1. That's not too bad. Cool. All right. Is it a payload map yet? I fucked up the scale on this side pretty bad, but there could be a little more space. That's fine. Let's put some more cover over here. In Overwatch, it's a dangerous area on this side because you're right next to the cliff edge and there's a lot of knockbacks and shit. But there's also a health pack over here. Okay, I think we need more cargo, cargo containers too. So I should get some that have different openings. Let me switch back to quarry. Oh, someone talked to me. Ooh, we're scheduling our league match. We're gonna beat up Voltron. Awesome. I need revenge against Voltron. Okay. What was I doing? You distracted me. Damn it, Boris. Okay, we don't need whatever that was. We don't need no river. We need quarry. If I can locate it. There it is. Okay, I've also got some different colors too, which will bring some variety to the cargo containers. And there is supposed to be another one of these up here. Oh geez, great timing, quarry. Kind of in the middle of something. Did it copy it? I don't think it did. Oh yeah, that's perfect. Not. Let's see if I can make this look good. Just this vertex go down. It's not bad. Little steps probably fine. Cool, and you come out on top. All right. Neat. Looks good. Ish. That looks acceptable. Very passable. Alright. This one has all. Here, let me load it up. I really like this map. I mean, I copied it from Rec Room, but I did a good ass job on it. It's got all these different kinds, different colors. Let's see. These ones are blue. Let me get Let's see here. Sides open. How about the 3 sides? 4 sides open? Container open. Let's grab that one. We are going payload. Yeah, it's kind of surprising how well it played out, because Rec Room is like strictly teleport. Worked out pretty well. The river did not work out nearly as well. That place is a freaking slaughterhouse. No to all. Now this time, because I'd already migrated something over, there's going to be some conflicts. And I end up having to do this a lot because of the way I migrate stuff over. Yeah, I hated paintball. I really liked quest mode. Smooth Loco is fun, but it doesn't count for anything. It's like purely unofficial. You know, you have to do it in private rooms. So it's still fun, but yeah. Okay, so now when I migrate this over, it puts it into its own folder, like this is the Rec Room folder. So when I drag it up here, a lot of the stuff is already going to be there. Is that where I want it? I think so. Yep, there's all these conflicts because they're already in there. And every time I move, I fix up. And so the way I fix that is I go back in here and I find each thing that was already in there, and then I delete it and tell it to replace it with the correct thing by just typing in the name. And it's mildly annoying, but it makes sure that there's nothing extra in the folder. And if I replace references, it should automatically replace it with the one that I already had, and then delete it. And I just do that real quick for each one. Okay, metallic, replace, okay, save. Corrugated, normals, replace, okay, save. Cool, and that might be everything. Oh, there's more. Scrap metal. Scrap metal albedo. Normally there's not quite so many, depending on what you're migrating over. This one just happens to have a lot of textures. And we are done. Now I can fix up redirectors and get rid of that extra folder. And this should delete just fine. Yep, because I already fixed everything. Cool. Now we have another container. Very cool. And we have blue. Let's make some of these blue now. So let's see. Let's make this one dark corrugated blue. I think this one's actually supposed to have a hole in the side, or maybe there's another one down here. Don't remember. Make one of these blue too. We'll just toss some more containers down. You know, it'd be kind of cool is if I had one go like across these. cool. That's the metal variety material. We don't want that. Oh, see you, Cyrus. There. That's not on the ground. Cool. Some hidey spaces over here. There's like some scrap on the ground in the other one. Yeah. Yes, I like the shipping container. It's very versatile. Like the cliff faces too. I found those actually pretty recently. But I'm like, I can use those a lot. Finding assets like that. Like I got these. I think I linked it for you actually, or I linked it for someone. The industrial asset pack that somebody released for free. I see those in like Nova uses them a bunch. I saw somebody else use them too. I think Voxy uses them. The drums and the pallets and stuff. They're just super useful. Oh yeah, I was telling you about stretching out the BSPs. If you do, like let's say I decide I want to use this, I already stretched it out. You can go in here. Actually, I end up doing this all the time. I'll select all. You can also just select this one by hitting Shift B. We'll select all faces, or you can right click and select all surfaces. That is literally all the surfaces in your level. And you can change, and it says it's 1-1 here, but if you click here, you'll see it's not actually 1-1 for everything. It's just mostly 1-1. The UVs, meaning how the material is stretched across your model, or in this case, brush. And you probably generally want it to be 1-1 because your material is designed to be seen in a certain, ratio and size. So if I select all surfaces and I just hit apply, it'll fix that. And I also use that select all surfaces, they still are, to change the light map resolution. The default light map resolution, which is how the shadows fall on it, why are there 10 people watching me? The default light map resolution is really shitty. And so when I build, I could probably build lighting real quick. Any shadows that fall on these BSPs will look really blocky and nasty. And so you can change the light map resolution. This is actually backwards from the light map resolution on meshes that you'd want. On meshes, the higher the light map resolution, the better, the more detail you'll get. On BSPs, it's backwards. You want to lower it. I usually do around 4 for my BSPs. Let's see. I guess, where'd our shadows go? Oh, it's still building. But yeah, so I'll select all of the faces and just change that to 4 or 8. It depends on how detailed you want your shadows. The more detailed you make it, the harder it is to, not harder, but longer it takes to build lighting. And you can actually check that. It's one of the view modes. You can go to optimization light map density and see how my landscape is really shitty and these rocks are actually pretty good, but the big rocks are really shitty. These are just about perfect actually for being very detailed but not like overly time consuming to build, is around the green level, maybe bluish green, again depending. What do I have overlapping? None object has overlapping UVs. That's really helpful, thank you. I'll make sure to check out that none object. And you can see here how really horrible that looks because I built it before I changed it. That looks cool. This is going to be, I think this is going to be pretty good once I get the textures in. I'm excited. Yeah, I'm probably just going to build it up to the first checkpoint for now. Let's see that. Okay, so let's check out the size of this building. I think it's about right proportionally to what it's supposed to be, but this area over here ended up being a little bigger than I want, so I might make the building bigger too. Okay, it doesn't need to be much taller. That's rather tall, but we can make it wider. I also don't have to open up the whole inside either. So like, let's say, if we're still talking about brushes, way too big. There we go. let's say I want to make this, I know I want to make this one a room. You don't have to get really detailed and nitpicky with the in the negative brush. You can also, that's probably too far over. Just make it hollow right in here somewhere. There it is, checkbox for hollow. Oh yeah, it defaulted back to what I had it. Well, let's go ahead and stretch that down again. Oh, I don't think I ever messed with one. Okay, so if you're going to do it hollow, you have to set the dimensions yourself. Or you can just hollow it out yourself with a negative brush. But yeah, it's hollow. I don't really use hollow much because it's more restrictive. But it might make it easier. Where was I? There's my player proxy. This is a very tall building. It's fairly tall. Let's make it 2 players or so tall. Okay. I can't decide. I keep making it wider and narrower because there's supposed to be a path over here. So maybe we'll add that first. This still needs to be fixed. This should be 1, 1. Okay. Don't break that again. New geometry. This starts right about here. What? No. Guess I'll just not select a material. I think I have some cool looking rock textures that are a little more like generic that I can put on some of these surfaces I'm making. Oh, there's another cool thing you can do with brushes. You can weld things together. So like, let's say I don't want this to be a block, I want it to be a triangle, like a wedge. So I can click this vertice and then this one and hit weld, and it'll merge them to the first one I selected. And then I can do these two. And it does kind of mess up the, see how there's 2 faces here now instead of 1, but you can also just click optimize and it'll get rid of that. Okay, so we want this to be in the wall. Oh look, it's just back. Cubes you can stretch out a whole bunch and they'll not add extra vertices, but once you start working with other shapes, it's like, I can't make that shape. I'm going to need some more edges here. What did I do? Nope, we're good. This, just take a look back here. Should probably be a little higher maybe. I guess I can have it go up as I go further in. Now we're going to extrude this. These away. And maybe even take it up a little bit. No, yeah, that's fine. And then let's make a new face over here. If we can manage to select an edge, there we go. That was relatively painless. And extrude it out this way. Give him a little more space there. And let me get my proxy over here. How big is this? It's pretty good. Make it a little bit wider. Yeah, sweetie? Yeah, sure. I've got to AFK for a few minutes. I will be right back. You're good. I'm coming. Let's do... Perfect. doing it for them actually for the guys that want to watch it, you know. So if I need to take a minute, I can. It's not like I'm being really Why am I looking in here? That was dumb. Almost flat. Almost flat. You're welcome. Got it. Making surprisingly good progress. I noticed like
Did you ever think about changing the thing you use for sizing? Don't you use something to size things?
yeah.
Did you think about, because everybody says your sizing's off?
I like it, but my problem with the one that it was too small is I didn't use it. That's why I'm using it now. Because when I was making them, I based it off of the geometry that is in the default
How was the
content.
thing?
The starter content models and stuff. I started with those and used those as a template. But those are too small. I forgot. Remember? That's why it's too small. I like it. I like it small. I added some more stuff on CD side.
Is there any like little bubble giants?
All right, I have returned. Well, still here. No more Discord messages. We're good. I didn't select all before I fixed that. Okay. What's the next step? Is there anything in particular you want to see? Or shall I just maybe finish it off real quick? I mean, it's not really playable until I do the blueprint for the payload anyway, so I could always start on that. That looks terrible. Is there supposed to be ramps up onto this? I guess there's one over here. It's wheelchair accessible. I think there's supposed to be some debris over here too. All this is a rock. I feel like it's way too open. I guess the idea that you can use the cart here. Maybe I'll build the cart or something. So let's say I don't want to mess with this blueprint. We are going to add some shit to it. Maybe I want to start with just... I'm probably going to end up making my own mesh for this, at least. So I'm going to start with just a cube. And we'll fiddle with that later. I like to use my second monitor because you can't see it. Cool. And we'll raise it off the ground. It's supposed to be floating, right? Maybe we'll put some cylinders. I hate how it auto scales things. Let's add some cylinders here. Add it to the root so that it doesn't try to scale it to that, and then I can go ahead and make it a root after. Okay. And these will be its propulsion jets. It's going to be like a speeder. What is going on here? Oh, it is still scaling it. Yeah. This is just a quickie, so it looks good. It helps me visualize it. What? No. Duplicate. Really? That's where you think you go? McAfee is the worst antivirus. For free, if you want a free one, Avast I think is actually pretty good. I guess maybe if it's your work computer. I use Nod. It's paid, but it's really good. So how can I frickin' duplicate this without duplicating the frickin' settings? Put it back here. Attach. Now duplicate it. Really? It's got to be something about the fact that I parented it first. Whatever. That's the weirdest thing. There we go. That's what I wanted. Wasting way too much time on this. I'm not actually going to use this. I just want it to look cool. Okay, and then we need a spline. And splines I am new to, but they're super cool. Oh wait, is that forward? Ah. Yeah, my wife found Nod years ago. We've used it forever. Let's see, I am looking. Oh, apparently quarry's still open. Go away, quarry. Oh, I just need to shrink this. Okay. Oh yeah, it's going backwards. Where's my spline? Right there. Okay, you two. You are now... What the fuck? There we go. I'm supposed to like name this stuff so you know what it's called. This is the cart. Doesn't matter. Okay, so this is going to be the path. And this, I learned some cool stuff about. And you don't actually even need to edit it in here. But you can go into the world, take your spline, and yeah, move it, rotate it, which doesn't make much sense. But yeah. Ooh. If you alt click, you can get extra lines. And you can do cool stuff like, where was it? Visualize, roll, and scale. There we go. So you can even make it like bank and shit. Okay, we'll just do that for now. What's cool about the spline is so I can release this payload cart as a module, and then someone can throw it in their level and grab the spline and that fit it to where they want it to go. And the blueprint's going to be based off of the distance to the end of the spline, and that's all that matters. You could even, I think I'm gonna have the ability to set waypoints too. So you could say, yeah, I picked that mapping just to make these for Pavlov. That river map was actually my first map. It started not quite looking that pretty, and I did it just to, because I really wanted to contribute to the Pavlov community. I love the game, and I've always wanted to do stuff like make games and maps and stuff, and never really got into it in any other games. And UE4, like I picked up UE4, and it's just, to me, it's so intuitive. A lot of it, anyway. And I'm not super artistic, though, so my maps aren't real pretty, for the most part. But I started getting into blueprints and, like, the more technical parts of Unreal. And I've always been interested in programming, too, so I was able to do stuff like the capture the flag. Yeah, I easily think Pavlov is the best game in VR. Absolutely. Just my opinion. Okay, now for the fun part. So we will say, oh yeah, we need a box, and it's going to be based on the cart. So we're going to add a collision, box collision. Where's my box collision? Why do I have the spline grabbed? There we go. So if you are in this box, or on the box, you are touching the payload. And we can fix that later. Right about there. And now with the box, add event, on begin, overlap. Oh, I need to fix the collision. For some reason, the default collision boxes block bullets. So I'll always change it to custom and say, no, don't block bullets. Okay, so when something overlaps that box, I can do, say, you have to be the server. So only if you're the server, and only if the overlapping thing is a pawn. So a bot or a player. And if that is true, we will move it along the blah, blah, blah. Move it along the spline. Okay, so we need to get spline length. Let's see, how are we going to move this? I didn't put too terribly much thought into this. There's a couple of ways you could do it. We could play it along a timeline, or we could just advance an integer. Let's play it along a timeline. I like timelines. So this is going to be cart movement. And this is interesting because we can decide how long we want it to take to push it from start to finish. I'm not going to mess with stuff like having more than one person on the cart yet. I might be able to do that later. Maybe not with the timeline, though. I probably could. We'll think about it. Okay, so let's say we wanted to take, let's see, a match is 7.5 minutes. We wanted to take 3 minutes of constantly standing on the cart to push it to the end. Or, 180 seconds. And it's going to move at a constant speed whenever something's on it. So this is easy. We'll just say time 0, 0, time 180 is 1. Easy peasy. What's wrong with this? Object is undetermined. Cast upon. Oh yeah, I need to cast. So what is overlapping? It has to be upon. I knew that. Okay, so we're not just going to start. Yeah, on come up be an overlap, cast upon. This is just really basic, and then play. And what does it do on the timeline is we're going to set world location. I just watched a tutorial on this. We're going to set the location of the cart. Set world location. Yeah, that's what I said. Oh, it just wants to. We need a transform actually. What did it use? I might need to watch that thing again. Location. We could just do that, I guess. They used a different one, but this should work. And we're going to set the location of the cart every tick, and how we're going to determine that is by using the spline. We're going to get, what's it called? Distance along spline? Get distance along spline. Get transform at distance along spline. Cool. So this will get our distance. And we also need the rotation because it's going to be turning and stuff. So now it's doing nothing because they didn't connect anything. We are going to, so this is going to be from 0 to 1 along the time, and it's going to play when there's something on it. So it's going to slowly move closer to 1, and so when it's at 1, we want it to be at the end. So what we do is we say something about the spline. Distance. So we multiply, get length, that's what it was. We need to get the total length. Get spline length. I'm making a mess over here. You guys get out of the way. And then we multiply it by float. By our integer, that's going to be on the wrong side. Bless you. Cool. So now this is how far along it is. Get that length, or get that point on the spline at that distance. And then we will grab the location and the rotation at that point. And then every tick of the timeline, set it to that. This is a little complicated. I'm not 100% sure I'm doing this just right, but it's not bad for first attempt. Now we just need to test it. So this should move whenever there's a pawn on it. Like, when I drag a pawn onto it. Is that moving? Cool. So let's see, we've got our spline. It should start moving fairly slowly, actually. Oh, it's gone. What did I do wrong? Oh, I know what I did. It's grabbing the local coordinates. I just said world location, not local, so we need to grab the world coordinates. Go. Well, it's sunk into the ground, but it's working. You know why? Because I didn't... Because I slid this up compared to the spline. So really, the spline should be on the same level as it. Or alternatively, I could just go ahead, because I want to be able to just say set the spline along the ground, and that way you don't have to think about how far above the ground the spline is. You just set it to the ground's level, and then I can break this or split it maybe. Yeah, we'll just break it. Oh, not the link. That's what I'm doing wrong. We'll split the structure pin. Oh, I do need to change the Z relative. I just need to add to it. So how far up did I move this card? I moved it up about 40 units. So I will take the X and the Y and move it straight across, and I'll take the Z and add 40 units, not add, plus. And now, ta-da. So if I were to make this spline longer now, come here, little spline. Probably could be over a little more. It'll go faster the longer it is because of the way I set it up. Yes, reticulating splines. I never knew what that was until I started doing this. Actually, I still didn't know what splines were. The first person that mentioned splines to me was Schmitty, who did the pit. He used splines for his railroads on the pit, which looks really good. But I think somebody else was talking about it too. Kenneth maybe was talking about splines. I was like, oh, splines, yeah, from Maxis The Sims or Spore. Alright. Looks alright. You can make this prettier, obviously, but pretty good for now. Let's just crash this right into those. Hey, where's my cart? There we go. And also, just to make it a little faster, where is my, oopsie, just to test it, let's set the end value, instead of 3 minutes, we'll do 30 seconds. Shrink it. Alright, let's test it. Come here, little pawn. Alright, stay on the payload, guys. Stay on the payload. Go, go, go. Not as fast as I expected. Seems to be working. Now I wonder. Wait a second. Oh yeah, I didn't set a condition to stop it yet. This is spaceship. It is. That's what I really like about the custom game modes, is I think it really adds something unique to the maps, at least, versus just having, you know, a level. Just having that secondary objective that people can do or ignore if they want, you know, and just still do TDM. It doesn't really matter. All right. So I don't know if 3 minutes is too long, but this gives us somewhere to start. It's going to go real slow, but you've got, I mean, that's probably too long. Thanks, Ken. We'll start with 2 minutes. Yeah, it's actually coming along pretty quick. And so what I really should do is check at different points. Timeline. Yeah, because the match is only 7.5 minutes. So however long I set this to, the attackers are going to have only attackers on the payload for that amount of time out of 7.5 minutes. So it's going to be a little bit of balance issue, but we can figure that out whenever. So what we need to do though is check to see. Let's see, other actor, get all. So this is itself. We need to get all overlapping components. That's not right. Get over. Can you do overlapping components of class? Get overlapping actors. That's what I wanted, of class. So show me all pawns that are on it and get the length. Oh, I am being called. I don't know who that is. I'm going to mute myself for just a second. Okay. I have returned. Let me get my...
I highly doubt that's the doctor on the pill bottle. Yeah.
Alright. Wife got a call about the prescriptions. So what I'm doing here is I'm checking the length of the array for how many pawns are in the box. Basically saying how many people are in the box. And I can check this at any point. So whenever I grab this value, it'll check. So that's kind of cool. So here, when I overlap, when something begins overlapping, then I don't need to check because I know there's at least one. But when it ends overlapping, now I need to check. Because so anytime, and this includes when a pawn dies. So like, let's say there's 2 people on it, one of them dies, at the moment the body despawns, it will end overlap because it's, gets out of the box. So at that point I need to check and see is there still anyone on it. So I need to do these again. I only need to check when a pawn leaves, and only the server is allowed to say whether or not this happens. Oh yeah, this needs to be replicated. What was I thinking? Okay, so right now what I have it doing is say, if you're the server, do this. I can actually show you if you want to see. This isn't going to work currently. It looks like it's working, not actually working. Because if I say there's 2 players, and then play, what? What did I fuck up? Where's my error? Oh yes, other actor. Why do I keep doing that? Act like I've never casted the pawn before. Completely forgot what I was doing. So I have 2 players now. When I play, I should have a second window, but I don't. So instead, we're going to do editor window. There we go. So if I'm the server, I'm there. If I'm the client, I'm over here. So we're going to watch that. And now be the server and get on it. It starts moving. As you can see on the client screen, not actually moving. And that is because I'm not replicating. So let's fix that. So I don't just say go. I say, I believe it's at this point right here. Is that going to work? I want to do it on every tick. How would you do this, Ken? I need to replicate this. I think maybe using the timeline wasn't the best idea. I need to replicate this at some point. I could just replicate movement. I've never gotten that to work properly, but let's try it here. So we're now going to say this blueprint now replicates. It updates. It's because you can't extrude cubes. I doubt this blueprint portion is helping that much. Let's update 20 times a second. Yeah, I'm thinking, oh yeah, on here too. Thank you, Ken. Replicate movement. We'll just test it at 20 times a second, see how it looks. Always relevant. And then the cart specifically. Does this propagate to children? If I say replicate, I guess, yeah, I just need to say replicate here too. All this replicates. Let's see if this works. Go back to new window. Oopsie. Where's my client? Why can't I move? I'm stuck. Oh god, I'm stuck. Alright. Hey! Look, it works. Ken, it's working. All we had to do is replicate movement. Oh yeah, I still didn't make it stop. But hey, it's replicating now. So that's something. It's a little bit jerky because I only had it update 20 times a second. But the more you have it update, the more network traffic it's going to cause, which might cause problems on the map. We could probably fix it a little bit. Let's do something like 60 times a second. Okay. Cool. All right, let's make this bad boy stop. So cast upon has authority whenever something stops overlapping. We're going to branch, which is an if statement. So if the length is less than 1 or equal to 0, because it's never going to be negative, right? So equal to 0. If this is true, stop. All right, here we go. Go, stop, go, stop, go, stop. Sick. Net priority. I don't know, let me read it. It's after Low bound specification. Higher priority means it's more likely. Okay. So set to 0 would be for stuff that really doesn't matter, I'm guessing. Or 0 higher? Yes. How it works in Overwatch is it stops if both teams are on it, and then if no attackers are on it for like 5 seconds, it'll slowly start to go backwards. And I'll have to figure out how to do that with the timeline. I may end up deleting this timeline and just manually adjusting the integer, because it's really just, it's like a super simple timeline. It's one straight freaking timer, and whoopsie, you are not needed. What did I do? Delete. It's and just the one float. How's it work in TF2? But yeah, so if nobody's on it for 5 seconds, no attackers are on it for 5 seconds, then it rolls back. Oh, funny. Yeah, it goes back really slowly, but it's just so you can get some progress back, I think. Cool. I'm just really pleased it works. So the problem that we have right now is any pawn on it makes it work, which I thought about at first, back before I fixed my, what was it? I added motion or proximity touches to proximity checks to the King of the Hill and the domination mode, so you just have to be near it. And the way I did that was I had sided spawns. So like if I put a box in here, I might just end up copying these over. Or we can do that now. Let's do that now. Overlap volume. Where's my freaking overlap box? Windows panels. Yeah, I don't think the windows are that important. I don't know, maybe. I'll look into it. I'm just going to leave it at 1 for now. But yeah, I'll have to figure that out, because it is pretty high priority. So if 0 is higher priority, then I'll move it to 0. Because, you know, it's the game. We're going to put... Where's collision volumes in here, Ken? Box trigger. There it is. No. I could do a blocking volume and then just change the... I don't think that's right, though. I just need a volume. Oh, there we go. Volume. Whatever. Fine. I'll do a blocking volume. And then overlap. That's what I want. It's an overlap volume. And then we make it custom and say don't block bullets, dude. Why does it block bullets? Okay, I'm going to make a new this is attacking team volume. I have one already for... I ended up doing for capture the flag too, right? Okay, I'll see you later, Ken. Ah! Hi, wifey. Where are you going?
It's almost that time.
To get Eddie? Okay. Oh, I can go get her. You got her? You sure? Okay. Thank you. So I'm going to make this a blueprint. And the idea... How do I make this a fucking blueprint? It doesn't have the option like a mesh does. I'm just going to start a new blueprint. That's how I normally get these. Let's go to... You should probably have a new folder for this anyway. Payload. Oh, yeah, I spun one for me too. Spun did. I did one for me this morning. And I was going to do you when I went to pick her up. You can take it if you want. You'll find something cool. Alright, we're going to move these in here. We'll do a new blueprint. And so the way that we get this to work is we put a overlap volume on each spawn and then somehow prevent the enemy from getting into the spawn, although it doesn't really matter because they're only messing themselves up by getting in the other spawn. And then anyone that starts in that area is flagged as being on that team. And so now, even though I can't directly check what team the pawn is on, I still have a record. Haha. And it's a pain in the ass because I have to go through each entry on the list and check to see if it's on that team or not. But it works. It works, and that's what matters. No. Collision volume. And it's just a box. This is the big important thing that makes my custom game modes work. It's a box. It doesn't block bullets. Assuming I remember to do that. Okay, and so all I do is I say, I hate these, I just start over even though it's the same thing. Begin overlap. Same thing we did on the other one is we say only the server, which is has authority. Make sure, look, I remember this time, make sure this is a pawn. No, why did it do that? Custom to pawn. Make sure it's a pawn, otherwise there's no point to doing anything else. And if it is, we add it to an array. An array is just like a variable that's a group. It's a container for variables. It's a bunch of variables. And so I'm going to create a variable, and this will be team members, and this will be an array of pawns, right? Because that's already cast a pawn, or it's not. Doesn't matter. It's going to be an array of pawns, but it's just a generic array right now. Actually, I should do add unique, huh? So I don't add the same thing more than once, just in case they go in and out. If I did this, I think it would be an array of pawns. That's what I should have done. I dragged it from here, so as pawn, so now it knows it's a pawn reference. Promote to variable. And this is going to be team members. Get rid of that other one. Doesn't really matter, but I mean it's best practice for it to be correct. Okay, so now this, we also need one more variable because there's two teams. And I always call mine for some reason is red. And this we can make it visible. I'll show you what that does in a second. And yeah, that's it. That's pretty much it, right? I think that's it. All right. That's the magic team spawn thing. He is working on Battle Royale. I'm really excited. He was going to add it to Pavlov, and then he had changed his mind and was going to make it its own game. But I believe he changed his mind again. I think he should do it as like a DLC. So that he can, because he deserves more money for the game. Like I paid like $5 for the game, I think, less than that. It was so cheap, and then I've got literally like 1,600 hours in it. I would gladly pay for a Battle Royale mode. Okay, this actually doesn't have to be quite so big, as long as all the spawns start inside of it. So I'll make it within the room, just to make sure nothing else touches it. And you can do some sort of like one-way doors on these, but generally you probably won't have to worry about it. They're not going to like literally push into your spawn to fight you. And if they do, well, now they count as a, you know, as a teammate, so they can push the cart. It's kind of their problem. But yeah, you can block that if you want, so they don't. All right, so now when we do this, let us check and see. So between the begin overlap and the cart movement, so somewhere here, we need to check and see what team they're on. And in order to do anything in Unreal, you need a reference. So in order to check that that list of that array of pawns that I have, I need a reference to that blueprint I made, that specific blueprint, this one, not just a blueprint, but this blueprint. And the way I do that, oh yeah, so is red. So red's going to be attackers, and it's now visible. That's what making it visible did, is I can click on it and see in the level, this is red. Red team's attackers, because I decided so. And then the other one will be back here somewhere, and that'll be not red. We'll remember that. So now back inside the blueprint, I will do this on the construction script. So it does this in the editor actually still. So these references are going to exist when the map loads, instead of taking extra time to do it. You can also do it like on begin play every time it starts, or just, you know, have it preset. So in the editor, I am going to get all actors of class, because this get all is actually a little slow. It checks everything, and checks to see what class they are. So you don't want to be doing this all the time. So even doing it on load might actually slow down the load a tiny bit theoretically. So let's do it here, and we're going to get our team. What did I call it? We're going to get our team spawn. So check the whole level for team spawns, and there should be 2 of them, right? There'll be 2. And then I need to know. Do I need to know if they're on blue team or don't I? I kind of don't, huh? I just need to know if they're an attacker or not. So I really don't even need 2. So I can just delete the other one and get the first one, which means I don't even need that variable to see if they're red or not, which I might as well fix because there's no reason for it to be there. Get out. Okay, cool. So this should just be 1. So then I can just get the first one. Boom. And now this is a reference to my spawn thing. And so I can promote that to a variable. And that will be called attackers list. That's all attackers. Anyone that's allowed to move the cart will be on here. And if they're not, we can just assume that they're enemies. It's a little different on capture the flag, I think. Maybe I could have done it differently. Theoretically, I could have just said, you know, if you're not on one team, you're obviously on the other. But it makes more sense for this because there's literally just one attacking team instead of being symmetrical. And this is bothering me. Okay. Now that I have that list of attackers, which is an array... No, it's a reference. It's a reference to the pawn. Or to the blueprint. So I can still grab this reference. And now that I have it, I have access to everything that's inside it, which includes that array. So I can get... What did I fucking call it? Team members. Cool. And now for an array, so that I have this is a list of everyone that ever spawned in that room. And I'll say for each. So for each member of this array, and this is actually going to be ugly, so I'm going to move it up here. I'll probably annotate this eventually. Probably. So this is that specific element. So for each person that ever spawned, it's going to grab the first one, and then the second one, and then the third one, and it's going to pop out here, and then do something on the loop for each one. And what I'm going to do with that is check to see if it's the same as our pawn. Because this is an array of pawns, and this is definitely a pawn, so this should theoretically be able to be the exact same thing. So if someone just spawned, it adds them to the list at the end of the array, and they walk out the door and stand on the cart, it's going to trigger this, and it's going to check to see, are you on the list? Are you the first one, are you the second one, are you the third one, are you the fourth one? And then do what if it is, right? So we check to see if these are equal. Then now we can play. And when you're done, do nothing. So just check each one. And this play is a binary thing. It's either playing or it's not. So sending play more than like, if for some reason a guy got on the list twice, it shouldn't really affect anything. This isn't as ugly as I thought. That was pretty simple. Okay. Is this going to work? It's not, because we're spawning here. Pavlov spawn. And we'll put another one out here. Cool. What? What are you doing? This should be this. What is that if it's not this? I don't know what that is, but it's not a map I want. This is the map I want. Okay. Save all. Good to go. All right, let's check it. All right, the server spawned outside. That's fine. Let's see, put it like there so you can see it. Which means it shouldn't move, right? Because I spawned outside, which means I'm not triggering this. And you can actually watch this go, which is really fun, I think. I can look here. It's going to be hard to show you. But every time I step on it, it's going and then not moving through this because it's never true, because it didn't start in the loop. I might be over explaining this. I don't know if anybody who's watching this actually wants to know how I'm making this work. Where was I? But yeah, so if I grab the one that was in the room, this guy's on the list. Wait, where's his pawn? He doesn't have a pawn. You can't see him on the server screen. For some reason, the first spectator or the first player doesn't have a pawn. We'll just try again until we get the server on player one. No, not going to happen. Well, we know it's going to replicate, so we'll just go back to simulating normally. Not simulate, possess. What do I want to do? Sorry, I normally don't have to test it this much. I know it's going to work. I've done this before. So if I play, click that, possess, boom. Now I'm a pawn, and I started in that room. Now it should go. And when I get off, it stops. That's why I wanted 2 players. If somebody else was on it, that's what I need to do. If somebody else is on it, this is actually kind of annoying. I need to check to see all. Okay, we can do this. All right. Well, that works, and that is useful, but there's more to it. So I can't just necessarily start. So let's go back here. So let's say it finds somebody that is on the list. We need to set. We need to remember that somehow, basically. So attacker presence. This is a Boolean. And I'm now going to set attacker present to true. So, okay, now I know there's someone there. If somebody is on it, check, and they're not, how's that going to work? I guess if all of these come back and this isn't true, then I know that there's somebody on it. I kind of need to do for each. So anytime somebody steps on it, I need to keep constant track of whether or not, I'm going to have to think about this, whether or not somebody's on it from either team. And also on end overlap. Because on end overlap I have all overlapping actors. I need to check this. I need to check this each time somebody's on. Not just grab the current actor. So I need nested for each loops again, which is something I already did in. Shouldn't be too bad though. There's only going to be 1 or 2 people on it at a time generally anyway. So hopefully this won't be too intensive. So what I need to do. Okay, so I know somebody's on it on the server and they're a pawn. Don't just check that person. I need to check all pawns. So this. But it's an array, right? Because there could be more than one. So instead of checking one thing, I have to do another for each. So for each on the list, I can break this. Doesn't actually matter who stepped on it most recently. It's irrelevant. I have to check each person each time. So for each person, for each pawn that's on it right now, I check all of them. And so I have a reference to see if each of them is the same as any of these. And so if this comes back, so when this is done, it'll move on to the next one. So the first thing I need to do is clear this to set this to blank at this point maybe. Is this right? See if the first one, so set it to false. run through each one, set it to true if there's a one correct, and then if it's true, it moves. But if it's also false, it's hard to hold all this stuff in your head at the same time. I feel like I'm really good at this until I get to a point where it's like this, where I'm like, okay, I don't really know how to do this. Let me know if you have any ideas, if you're with me so far. I guess I need a couple more booleans, right? So if this comes back true, I set a different boolean. Let's rename this one. Has attacker. Because different things happen whether there's, actually, what conditions do I need to know? I need to know if there's just an attacker, or just attackers, or if there's both attackers and not attackers. Because if they're both, it just stops. But if there's neither, then it starts a timer for rolling backwards. So I need to know all cases. So let me make another one. Okay. So if this comes back, so I'm going to branch off that. After it checks one of them, see if this is true. And if it is, set attackers present to true. And if it's false, because I know if it's running this at all, that means there's at least one. And I can consolidate this later to true. And then after it's done checking each one, now I can do branches on those. Okay, so let's tidy this up a tiny bit. Cool. Now after it's checked each one, I'll do a couple more branches and say if attacker's present is true. What? Oh, that's the exact pin. And defender's present is false. Reply. If attacker's present is true and defender's present is true, there's probably a better way to do this. I'm just going to have a whole bunch of branches. Then we stop. And if attacker's present is true. Wait, is this the same one? That's the same one. I'm an idiot. If attacker's present is false, it actually doesn't matter if defenders are present or not, right? I need to start the timer. And how long do we wait? About 5 seconds. How can I set it to go backwards? Slower. For now, we'll just reverse. And then we can do things that make this stop. Or actually, instead of a retriggerable, just do a delay. And then check to see if things are still false. All right. We could do a check here later. We'll put a branch here. And say, because like in the time between when this was triggered and it actually starts to move back, it might no longer be needing to move back, which I guess would be this, if attacker's presence is true, we don't do that, so do nothing. So that has to still be false. And these need to be reset every so often. We already reset this every time it checks, which means we would reset this either before or after. After is kind of a mess, so we'll do it before. So when we first start, set these to false. Alright, I wonder if this is going to work. This is a huge freaking mess. It's actually not that big, but it is quite messy. We need 2 players actually to be able to test this. How can I get a pawn for my second player? Let me Google that. It's not possessing. It's probably because of the workshop thing. I don't know. It's going to make it hard to test. How about give me a pawn? I wonder if I can. Let's see, do I still have that pawn in here? I do. Yeah, I can't select it. I want to. Well, that still works. I guess I'll have to post it and see if I can get it to respond to that. Oh, I'm probably going to be done for now. My daughter's home, and we've got some plans, and I'm kind of stuck here because I believe that should work, but I can't really test it. I'll probably polish this up a little bit, maybe even add some more materials, make it look kind of pretty, finish up this room, and get it published, and we'll check and see how the cart moves. Oh, one more thing before I finish. I want to make sure the cart can be stood on, so that theoretically you could be carried by it. I think he changed that. You didn't used to be able to be carried by moving objects, but he made it so that you can now. Yep, I was just about to be done. I'm going to change one more thing, and I'll be done. Cool. So to look at the cart's collision, and it's block all dynamic, but its type is world dynamic, and world dynamic does not collide with pawn, even though it says it does here. Like, world dynamic collides with pawn, but pawn doesn't collide with world dynamic, and they both have to interact or else it doesn't work. So by having this set to world dynamic, the pawn's never going to be able to step on it. It doesn't have to be dynamic though. I can make this whatever I want. So I can tell it is a static object, even though it's a moving object. And it should still work just fine. You know, these might actually come in handy. Because of my collision, they need to be able to walk up onto it. Like, you can't step up onto that. But if I move these just right... what was I doing? Give me that. What? No, I need to be an attacker. Yep, still works. Okay. So if I move that... I said one more thing. Let's make it 2 more things. Let's make it like that instead. Maybe even it down a little bit. Not quite that much. Probably still too high up off the ground, but we'll see. We might be able to walk up on that now. So you can actually stand on the payload, because that's kind of a thing you have to be able to do in Payload, you know, is stand on the payload. All right, I think I'm done for now. Let's get back to lit. I will see if I can get this posted. Hopefully somebody learned something and it was somewhat helpful. Maybe I'll post this to YouTube. We'll see. I mean, I guess I might as well. And I'll talk to you guys later. See you on Discord.